Come in, please, to continue. Continue our conference with Dr. Eleftherios Iakovou, Chairman of the Department of Mechanical Engineering and Director. Thank you. So you already see him, but I'm going to present him again. Dr. Eleftherios Iakovou, Chairman of the Department of Mechanical Engineering and Director of Laboratory of Quantitative Analysis and Advanced Supply Chain Management from Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. He's going to talk about globalized supply chain networks and innovation opportunities for the Greek economy. Dr. Iakovou.
All right. Good afternoon again after lunch. I came here to help the young guys, right? But I think I learned more and I think more from you guys that I think you're going to get from me. I returned to the States, to Greece in 2003 after 15 years in the States. So I've been at the forefront of whatever you're going to call academic environment / direction of business. I served. I started in Greece after Cornell, University of Miami. I started in Greece as an associate professor. I went through the entire process of full professor with tenure. I became also chairman of the board for the Alexandria Innovation Zone, a public entity of how to promote entrepreneurship and innovation, you know, the Greece. So that gave me an opportunity to work with a lot of dignitaries, present to the Greek Parliament, a lot of ministers. So I want to share some of the insights that I have about this. I'm also the president of the Greek Association of Supply Chain Management for the last 10 years, an NGO that will work for the promotion of what we call logistics in the food of Greece. Why? Because Greece sits at a special location, a location that makes it a prime candidate to emerge, Stefan and good afternoon, to emerge as a globalized supply chain hub. Missed opportunities. That's the common theme. So my goal is to tell you to talk about the following. And I would like, if you don't mind, since I feel so comfortable with everybody, to interact with you during the presentation, or give me hands up if I go too slow, too fast, or if it's too boring, or if what I say is already known. I'm going to give you my feeling as a dual citizen of both US and Greece. Right? What happens right now in development in Greece, the right picture. I want to talk about exactly like Professor Gofopoulos about global trends. I have a thesis, a conjecture. Unless I understand what the global trends are, there's no way I can position myself, the country, within the global picture to take advantage of core competencies. A term coined by Professor Krakala, who passed away in 2010 from the University of Michigan. What are the core competencies of the country? God forbid. We never did that. So we talk about strategy, we never identify that. Two competitive advantages in my book: the role of the country as a hub in supply chain networks, logistics networks, and the second is something that has been covered again and again, the role of the human capital innovation, the critical role of the universities within this environment. So, globalized supply chain networks, what's going on today? Even if you decide not to live in Greece, so I'm going to give you a little gift, just talk to you about the current trends of manufacturing supply chain management that are unique. Within this environment, opportunities for the national systems of Greece, the national logistics systems of Greece. So I'm going to talk about the performance of the national logistics sector in Greece. Opportunities also, not only for the Greek ports, but also for the Greek shippers, being the power force, the powerhouse that they are. I'm going to talk about the role of the Leviathan, the role of the master. The role of the master. Okay. And I'm going to do the same as far as I'm concerned about the role of the human capital innovation. So I'm saying here two seismic sources of change. Technological revolution moves slow, that never dies away, right? The semiconductor chips capacity doubles every 3 months. This further has today applications even in cloud technology, right? Where the capacity is, we're not talking about the capacity of semiconductor chips, but rather we talk about the capacity of the systems to cool down. Along with economic globalization and the powerhouse that we have the last 2 years with this global economic economic globalization is the rise of the emerging economies. 80% of global GDP comes from emerging economies, completely changing everything. So the pressures on enterprises and nations are unique. So if I go and apply tools of circa 1980s or 1990s in 2015, I'm doing injustice. And injustice to myself and injustice to my country. I assume that I do care about my country. I assume there's nothing wrong with demanding for patriots running the country. So in this environment, there's only one constant here, and that is change. Change that is accelerating and change that is turbulent. It depends to us of how we're going to react to this. Are we going to be afraid or not? At the same environment, what we experienced in 2000s, we experienced increased volatility, and we experienced this both in business and in governance. So if you go to any C-level suite, guys that I see that work with C-level executives, global Fortune 500s, you're going to see risk management, especially risk supply chain management, at the top of the corporate agenda. This is what these guys have to deal on a daily basis. Why? Because these supply chain networks are geospatially dispersed around the globe, and they're prone to risk. And this environment, we have opportunities. Yes, we hear a lot of things about unemployment or low-level skills, but I beg to differ. At high-level value workers, the capacity is less than demand. Demand exceeds capacity. So for the young guys, you have to hear this, right? So there are websites, www desk, that you can go if you're highly skilled, and you can be a freelancer. You read literally a Sojourn of Fortune. You work for Procter & Gamble for 6 months. They're going to offer you a full-time job. You don't want to go there. You're going to have the ability to bid your service to another guy 6 months after that. But this is what? For which kind of people? This kind of people. For the people who have the skills. For the people who are knowledge workers. So how do you become a knowledge worker? How do you open up your head, your mind? Just going to school? No, but also congregate in events like this. Paraphrasing Darwin, is not the strongest of the species. I'm saying nations here. My whole presentation has one thing in mind. What could it do for Greece? Right? That's the only reason I'm here. It's not the strongest of the nations that survive, not the most intelligent, but the ones that are responsive to change. Right? We are intelligent, right? Rumors have it that when President Obama and President Putin wake up in the morning, the first thing they're thinking about is what they're going to do to face the competition from Greece. As ironic as I am, there are a lot of Greeks who think we're at the center of the world. Unfortunately, we're not. Okay. For the young guys, indeed, we're going through this process that you're going to see more change, and I cannot see of anything more exciting than this. That the entire civilization, human civilization, saw 10,000 years ago. Survival for a nation is not compulsory, and that's what worries me. Greece is at a point right now; it has to decide what it's going to do. The consequences that I see for this increased changes is increasing opportunities. That's how I start. That's my personal philosophy. Every challenge, every setback, every new change creates opportunities. But do I have the mindset? Do I have the mindset? Do I have the values to be able to be responsible? Allow me an asterisk here. I was talking with Dr. Somers yesterday at the workshop. There are two types of Adams. There is a type 1 Adam in each one of us that is career-oriented, going for the highest salary, constantly moves aggressively, and there's Adam 2. Adam 2 is the guy who wants to figure out why is he here on planet Earth? What's his role in life? What's the esoteric meaning of all these things? In the States, since I lived here, allow me to say that we focus on Adam 1. Greece still is attractive because there's still a percentage of us, and I include everybody here that I know very well, that are looking for Adam 2. So the ability to marry the two Adams, it's our defense. And it's one of the key reasons that people again and again, successful, all of you are successful here, Greeks, intelligent, rich, I don't care what they are, they always crave of going back. The major consequence of this new environment is the fast outperform the big. So we heard about Israel, I think, yesterday. Israel is a small country of 7 million. Is the number one country in attracting venture capital per VC capital per inhabitant of the country. It's the number one in the world in patents per capita. The fast outperform the big. The unfortunate thing is the nation of Greece is nothing but fast. In this environment, the smart outperform all others. A nation is either a master of change or a victim of change. For the last few years, and I'm not talking just about the 5 years that are going through the crisis, we act only as a victim of change. We act as it's everybody else's fault, but not ours. What do you guys think? Isn't it our fault too? The lenders, they have their own agenda. The lenders demand certain things. Have we defined a strategy? Have we decided that, you know what, we have a problem? I guess unless we realize we have a problem, we're not going to be able to solve the problem. So, how can you identify with this globalized supply chain management, globalized landscape, core competencies for Greece? Did the country have any strategic plan for growth? Did the country ever use scientific management to manage its limited resources?
Today's Greek politicians act full of surprise when they figure out that they have constraints to operate within. Tough luck. Any manager of any company, any administrator of a serious university knows he or she that the first thing he or she needs to identify the constraints, temporal, monetary, technological, that he has to operate within. The challenge that we have, if we want to call ourselves leaders, is to maximize the benefit for an NGO, for a society, for a nation, for a company, for an institution, given the constraints that we have to run. I wrote this after I talked to Fukuyama. I didn't want to talk about it, but sometimes two numbers tell the story. The proud nation of Greece between 2001 and 2009, according to Eurostat, spent the total expenses of 826 billion euros. At the same time, for the same period, revenues were only 691. All this happened, Vasiliki, while the parliament was passing budgets with only 3.5% deficit. So somebody had to borrow to cover this. Isn't it? Two numbers tell the entire story. Since our previous speaker spoke so eloquently about corruption, which I have many problems about. I have some problems about the topic because I think law cannot be relative. There's a great book that was written by two Harvard professors, Professor Simoglu and Robinson, Why Nations Fail. And the book makes, so I encourage the young guys to read. Mark Twain said, we are the books we have read, nothing else. We are the books we have read. I cannot, we are the people we have met, right? We have the privilege to meet. But the guys make key observation for me. They talk about extractive economic institutions full of corruption. They don't allow a lot of guys to play ball, but they talk about the role of inclusive economic institutions with secure property rights, law and order, markets, relatively free entry for new businesses, upholding contracts, access to education opportunity for the great majority of citizens. And I think correspondingly, there are inclusive political institutions that are accountable, broad participation, with checks and balances. Why do we speak so fiercely about law and order? Because law and order, a rule of law, is a prerequisite for economic development. I don't care if you're a Protestant or you run under that ethic. Without rule of law, we cannot have economic development in Greece. The Economist only last week had a great graph that showed in the region of Latin America, and I know Professor Somers is fan of Latin America, the region of Latin America has 19-something% of deaths globally, while they represent population-wise 6.5% of the globe. Perennially, this is what they're saying, the shrinking of the middle class. So, according to these two gentlemen, there's a clear link between inclusive economic and political institutions and prosperity. And that's my thesis. Unless we're able to develop institutions like this, we're not going to see change in Greece. Inclusive economic institutions do something that's very important. Create a level playing field, encourage investments in new technologies and skills, more conducive to economic growth than the extractive institutions that are structured to do what? To extract resources by the many, from the many, by the few, while failing to protect property rights or provide incentives for economic activity. And you cannot have systemic growth with extractive institutions. This is a term coined by somebody very important, Joseph Schumpeter, creative distraction. Creative distraction is the ability to have an environment that allows the non-competent to distract while you have a fertile, according to the previous speakers, field where the new can develop. What do we have in Greece today? Do we have creative distraction? We have distraction of a lot of things, but the creative component is not there. Do you see any? We have VC here funds. Would any be interested, anybody to put $1 or a dime right now in the country, given the uncertainty that it has? Absolutely not. But I tell you stories, right? I tell you a story where a guy graduated with a PhD from alma mater Cornell, comes one day last year, knocks my door, and he says, US company, we just opened an office in Thessaloniki. I go, wow. Why? How come? We opened the office. There's a software company that do business for the aircraft, the air industry. We wanted to have access to graduates of two departments of the Arizona University, mechanical and electrical engineering. The value proposition is there. People see it. With the Greek families, again and again, have investment in education, have investment in the education of the kids. These are guys who are the second generation refugees. Again and again, they've seen the parents working their butt off as refugees to start from scratch. So they know the value of that. So going to the previous one, I dare you, unless we're able to do something where creativity comes back, we're only going to keep on seeing destruction. So there's a great study that I ask you, if you care about Greece, great reading. You can find it on the web. Supposedly it's only the executive summary, but it's 80-something pages. It's a study that was commissioned by SEV, the Association of Greek Industrialists, to McKinsey, with the title of Greece 10 Years Ahead. It's one of the few documents that I've seen, and I think I've seen a lot, that has a strategic view of how Greece can grow for the next 10 years. The strategy is a strategy, right? It's debatable. You and I can come and talk, and I think one of our speakers said yesterday that indeed it doesn't take a lot of new developments like sustainability, Professor Dopoulos spoke about. Indeed. But it does something that the Greek government never did, which is what? Identify key roles, core competencies, and potential rising stars. One of the rising stars that is mentioned in the study, one of the 6 rising stars, is the emergence of the country as a regional and global supply chain management hub. So in this new environment of globalization, global financial flows are still 70% below the peak. The global economy hasn't really advanced yet. Rising wages in China are shifting energy dynamics pose new challenges to lengthy supply chains. What am I talking about here? Since 2010, we have 720,000 resold manufacturing jobs in the US. Why? The cost of energy became lower, shale gas, fracking. At the same time, people became smart enough to understand what it costs them to build in China, move, store inventories to anticipate all this increased risk that are exposed within China. And when they do that, they realize they have advantages if they bring high value added manufacturing units. That's restoring. Cross-border flows are constantly increasing, and the thesis here is, do I want to tap as a national economy to this cross-border flows because they can increase dramatically GDP for the country. But the emerging players are already telling you they're becoming major sources of innovation, production, and consumption. So I know sometimes it's easy to forget about the words. This is the graph. So this is what we're operating now. On the third column, companies need to have this. Allow me to say in the lingo in the States, we talk about logistics. They have to be able to do globalize. Have a global presence. Have the characteristics the ability to provide localized, tailored to the local needs, products and services. And they have to have a global footprint. If they can, Monday morning I had in my office. Let me just finish my thought here. Monday morning in the department, we had the vice president of a top 10 tier one supplier of automotive industries. Revenue of the company, 14 billion, right? And he comes because he's thinking, I need to talk to the engineering school graduates, they have 56 R&D centers. The guy tells us that unless I have a presence even in South Africa, I'm out of the market throughout the continent of Africa. You understand the game that is there. 56 R&D centers around the globe. One in Turkey, not in Greece, of course. In Turkey. Yes, yeah.
How possible is for a multinational company to localize? Like, everything starts from a specific headquarters, right? So
that's why you're using R&Ds. So, for example, Procter & Gamble. Let's give you. I will digress. Procter & Gamble would produce all these nice detergents and soaps. They have specific soaps and detergents for the nation of India. Different water, so a different price. They cannot sustain high-end products. So they innovate and create tailored products and tailored markets.
So the research of the
The R&D departments.
Only for the product, it's the whole product, right?
Yes, yes. Also services. There's a whole know-how how to postpone differentiation, supply chain management, how to postpone differentiation of product tailored to the needs of the market also. The multinational guys, and this is how they operate today. Today, they operate on a two-speed global business world. So that's my little gift to you guys, to Christo and Clover, right? So this is what happens today. 85% of the global GDP is located in China, India, and other emerging economies. Look at the numbers. In 2010, there were 88 cities in China with middle-class population of 250 plus versus 68 in North America. In 2010, 5 years from now, the number for China will be 288, while the number will be down to 60 in North America. So multinationals are segmenting the supply chains of how they feed the world with two types of class. They have the established long-term supply chains that traditionally have served the established economies, and then they have novel, new, very aggressive supply chains geared with the 85% of the new emerging economies, where most of the money is coming from. And the global supply chain management landscape faces all this great stuff: risk, sustainability, outsourcing, widespread adoption of lean practices by the guys who play game. Why am I talking about this? Because it has great implications on any provider of services like this in Greece. In this increased environment, we face challenges in manufacturing of increased efficiencies, energy and resource efficiency, that was brought up by previous speakers, shorter times to market. So you got to understand the greater picture if you're really going to be effective on what you do, given your aspirations. So you have shorter innovation cycles constantly, more complex products, big data is there, how we can come up with it. And at the same time, we need enhanced flexibility, because that's the only way you can respond to greatly, swiftly changing customer demand. Individualized mass production, volatile markets, high productivity. I'm finishing with the graph that I left from Siemens. With this comes from Efficiency Logistics Cluster, a partner of mine. This is the largest R&D logistics cluster in the world, out of Dortmund, Germany. So this is how we started. We started in 1850s, following up with Keon's Renaissance type presentation, right? Huge product variety. You can go in a job shop and order anything, but at the same time, the product volume gets to be small. Then we start going to Henry Ford's great customization oxymoron. Henry Ford, I will sell you any color as long as it is black. He will produce only black. Why? High volume, low differentiation, try to reduce costs. He was able to produce a car at $500. We start going mass production in the 1950s. Michael Dell, 1980s. Allow the consumer through the web to customize the product, yet at the same time produce it in a mass-produced cost, at low cost. We go now to an environment where this increased complexity, we have to have the ability to globalize, globalization, regionalization, along with personalization. Consumers demand personalization, and I have a little thing here that's called 3D printing. Additive manufacturing is changing the world as we know it. How fast? So fast. I'll give you an example. The hearing aid industry in the US. The guys who produce all these things for the guys who need help with the hearing, right? In 2014, all suppliers, 100% of the industry, switched to 3D printing. They realize if they don't, they're out of business. This is how fast this is moving. And Fokinas knows much better in air industry, in energy-wise, components. In the military also, they're used even more and more aggressively. But this is where we go. We're coming back. We're coming back. Where? To the point we can customize products and services. For individuals, a low variety. What does 3D printing allow me to do? It makes economical for us to produce because setup times of machines is very low. Very low. Why? All I gotta do is either download something from a web or create a little software package that will run. That changed dramatically. All the idea that we as mechanical engineers, as industrial engineers have been taught again and again, producing in batch sizes was why? Because if it costs me 10,000, 100,000 bucks to reconfigure Apple manufacturing plant to start producing this, or Lenovo in China, then every time I start producing, I have to produce a huge volume. That's the only way I can justify it. So 3D printing questions this. What if I tell you that this setup time is gone? Value-added manufacturing, Industry 4 in the EU, they call it. President Obama also funds here. The idea is, how can we take advantage of the knowledge, the innovation ability that we have in the States or in the EU to do what? To produce high value added. Without manufacturing, even in the States, that we found out after years, we cannot sustain economic growth. We cannot be just a service industry. But we have to identify what is our core competency. In Germany, there's the cluster of SMEs that is called Mittelstand. Mittelstand is a great success story that makes Chancellor Merkel so powerful. How did these small to medium enterprises that spread around small towns of Germany compete so effectively with China? Higher cost, at higher cost, but they have competitive advantages. Great quality, predictability, quick, reliable, quick time to market. Smart manufacturing has to do with the other revolution that will change forever the way we conduct business and the way we consume products. Internet of Things. Internet of Things. Goldman Sachs says that 75 billion devices will be connected via the web in 2020. Internet of Things, and I'm not talking about just what you and I will experience as consumers now with your cell phone. You can connect with your washing machine if you're away from home and say, you know what, now go ahead and start now because I have a lower price of the electricity at 11 o'clock at night. Or I can check if that cycle of the washing machine is gone. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about how this affects manufacturing. It affects manufacturing in ways unheard of. Sensors are prevailing throughout the manufacturing process. Sensors that have the ability to report status, collect information, do what else? Analyze data, big data, have the analytics, and make decisions. Fully automated. That's the reason that you're going to see lots of master's degrees in the country that has a high flexibility in education, higher education, in the US. New master's degrees in business analytics. People understand that the big burden in industry today. So since I know the passion that you guys shared with me the last 2 days about creating innovation in this, the big problem the companies have, they have tons of data. Social media only increase this data. But how do I make sense out of it? In this environment, green is serious business. Being sustainable today, and I want to emphasize this, I'm going to go through it very fast. Green is serious business. None of the Fortune 500 will make it unless they project outside they're sustainable. When I talk about sustainability, I talk about two things. I'm an engineer, right? And I'm an engineer who works with companies. So for us, sustainability is twofold. Number one, effective, friendly to the environment, reduce costs, reduce waste. Number two, leading, effective to the environment, leading to reduce cost, leading to increase profitability. These are not philanthropic organizations. They realize that there's power for them in becoming sustainable. How so? I'm talking here about a cacophony of worldwide initiatives, prone to corruption also, but I'm not going to go into this anymore. CDP Supply Chain Report 2015. Look at the numbers that are the companies that are listed. You see the giants, right? You see the guys who are the founders. Carbon Disclosure Project. That's the full name, the acronym CDP. The best in London. So you're there. CDP says, so they represent players with assets of 1.3 trillion in procurement, in purchases. Right? They sent questionnaires in 5,000 companies around the globe every year. Question number one starts with the questionnaire. Do you have a sustainability program in place? Oh, if not, explain why not. Tell me if you work in a company, you get that email, what are you going to do? You're going to freak out. You're going to say, you know what, I got to do it. Otherwise, these guys don't want me. This is how strong this is. Forward, looking companies appreciate that successful, resilient suppliers are good for business. Suppliers have come to realize that improved performance can confer competitive advantage, not only making them more efficient, but also more attractive to sustainability inclined consumers. So, if I'm a Greek supplier, right, or if I'm a Greek port, I have to be able to comply with this. I have to be able to understand that. And indeed, this sustainability goes, CSR is corporate social responsibility. Apologies for that, I'm not sure if I defined it before. Today's corporate social responsibility focus on risk reduction, nimble, quick reaction to problems, innovation, green materials, carbon footprint optimization, stakeholder engagement and crisis management, and extension to natural resources, human rights, labor practices. Water footprint is the upcoming thing. You'll be hearing for the next year water footprint. And so if you're interested, download for me 2014 sustainability report of Walmart or Maersk, and you're going to think you're reading a United Nations report. This is how strong it is now. So in this environment, the emergence of green supply chains is indeed the case. 80% of the global Fortune 250 released annual sustainability reports today. A new green wave, the economist says. SAP Miller that I have there just announced this year they will go and invest in training 300,000 small shops throughout the globe which sell their beers to improve their business practices. There's a new wave because you cannot quantify, I see many actually, you cannot quantify in the short at least term what is the profit proposition for this. So I wonder who's going to stay there for the long run to be able. Unilever says that I'm going to do whatever it takes to improve the well-being of 1 billion people. But the point here is that sustainability indeed has emerged as a profitability center. There's a great study also by Harvard, since we're here, hosted graciously by them. Again, thank you, Vasiliki, for all the great hospitality. Between 1992 and 2010, companies which adopted sustainability policies were indeed more profitable, improved the shareholder value. In this environment, cost-efficient transport creates tremendous opportunities. And in this environment, of course, if I'm here, so this is an entire supply chain from supplier down from door to door. So if I'm the port of Salonika, right? So I go through all this great stuff, and this is the port of Salonika. RTC is the regional distribution centers. But if I'm a port of Salonika today, right? What happens when the cargo comes on a Friday? Well, you have to wait most probably to Saturday, Sunday, because they're not customs operating. We're going to start from Monday again. Now, if I realize who are the players I'm dealing with, if I realize that the CEO of a third-party logistics company that manages goods for Dell ain't going to sleep during the weekend. Why? Because the consumer that will get this product operates at the just-in-time, has few hours worth of inventories. And these guys will take huge bucks if the shipment is not delivered on time. First time, on time, every time. Otherwise, if you port of Salonika or if you port of Piraeus, not only because of the port's inefficiency, but also why? Because of the Hellenic railways inconsistency. If you cannot do that, guess what? I'm going to get out of it. I don't care about the fact you're privy to a great geographical location. There are other ports. And the question is, who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? Can the state, can the Leviathan, can the master of the state be an entrepreneur? Do we have an answer for this? Yes, the answer is no. And I challenge you to name me a case where a state has become a successful entrepreneur. The state has indeed a catalytic role and ensure a level, competitive, meritocratic field deprived of under-the-table processes, but the state itself cannot be an entrepreneur. In this, I just follow very quickly on Jonas' presentation. Indeed, we have sustainability challenge for these globalized supply chain networks. 90% of global trade manifests with containers, right? So containers, indeed, shipping, while it contributes to 90% of this growth through containers, removing, it accounts for 3 to 4% of man-made CO2 emissions globally at the same time, involving, not in this case, not only CO2 is important, but also sulfur oxides and nitrogen oxides are increasingly important, because remember, these ships, they're hosted into ports. The ports are contained within civic environments. So these oxides are dangerous for human health, and the numbers are there. Every ton of CO2 that is saved by Maersk, the last container shipping company, saves about $200. To do that, you have to optimize the energy efficiency of global transport chains. This is what the big guys are doing. You know what the big guys are doing? I'm going to go through these slides too extremely fast because I think I'm overkilling you here, and I don't want to do that. But let me give you an example of what they do today. The big guys, the big names, they're using slow steaming today. What is slow steaming? I steam slow. I take my ships and I sail in slower speeds. Why do I do that? Because if I travel in slower speeds, I consume less fuel, I have fewer emissions. But hold on a sec, what happens to the end B2B transactions here, right? What happens to the industry? The end customer, does the end customer experiences a lengthier delivery time? Because that would be a problem. No, the big guys are so good that they make up for the increased voyage time by shutting down the time that it takes to process the container through the port and switching to another mode, either heavy-duty truck or rail, and move even faster to the end consumer. But that's know-how. It takes know-how, and it requires the ability to manage the entire door-to-door effectively. And these global supply chains, they're only going to do business with which ports and which companies with the ports who understand this big picture of what it means to have the know-how, reliability, predictability in my service. We have new consortia in this business. The pressures are tremendous of increasing scale. The larger the ships are, the more what? The much lower the transportation cost from China of that shirt or that pair of shoes that you're bringing. So the challenge today is so great that you see fiercely competitors forming alliances. As you can understand, when I think about the transatlantic trade, ships move with full containers from China to west side of the United States, return back almost empty. So there are challenges of how the players can work together, and these are approved circa 2015 now. These are the new approved alliances of great shipping companies on the globe. These are three of them. Creating pressure supports, since they build larger and larger ships, ports have ongoing expansion schedules. This is the case for the Panama Canal, as you know, huge expansion that is supposed to be finished by next year to be able to accommodate these vessels. How big these vessels are? Well, only last month, cost of the Chinese sold company ordered at least 10 megaships. Megaships are the guys who carry more than 19,000 TEUs. The TEU is 20 equivalent unit, is a 20-feet container. We only have two types of containers, 20 feet, 40 feet. So a 40-feet container is 2 TEUs. Crazy stories, right? Let's go to nations. Let's go down. Globalized supply chain networks, supply chains and national logistics systems decide the competitiveness of a country, given the ability of the country to hook in this physical internet. I love that term used by the economists. For those with weak connections to global supply chain networks, the cost of exclusion are becoming increasingly devastating. So World Bank comes in 2007 for the first time and creates a comprehensive logistics performance index, analyzing capturing the entire logistics systems of 155 nations. With solid quantitative and qualitative data coming from more than 5,000 questionnaires of global players around global region. They made 4 studies, 2007, 2010, 12, and 14. I'm going to show you the ranking of Greece these 4 years. So customs, ability to track and trace shipments, timeliness, competence of private and public providers, customs border agency, transparency, corruption, supply chain reliability. These are KPIs, key performance indicators. So unfortunately, it's not this because this is very different. And for you guys, you have to be skeptical of anybody who provides you easy solutions. There's no easy solutions. There's no passepartouts. All are data dependent. So if I really care about the country, I gotta be careful. In my excitement and my passion for doing well for the country, also I gotta be careful not to become what? Naive. So Greece 2007, we're number 21. The stars are there, right? Singapore, Netherlands, Germany. These are the countries that built. I was invited by the German Logistics Association to give a talk, and Chancellor Merkel came the second day. So he gets in the podium and he goes, "You are the #2 sector of the German economy," tells to the logistics guys. "Just tell me what I can do to help you." I mean, I wish we would have a Greek politician, God forbid, a Greek prime minister who would talk like this. So, but this is know-how. So we're number 29 at the time, Turkey's 34. The rest of the southeastern Mediterranean is there. Look at 2000, the next one is 2010. Look at it there, we dropped down to 54. 2012, we further dropped to 69. And this dropping, for you guys who have an understanding of the other rankings, is going one-to-one with the fall of Greece in the national competitiveness of countries throughout the globe, and also the chart that Professor Passas just shows us before, reflecting corruption in the public sector. And only in 2014, we had a partial trend, reverse of the trend, because of and actually the new report that was published only 2 months ago, we listed as a good example of change because of the Cosmos investment and the port of Piraeus and the promises, because I haven't seen anything yet of the Hellenic crisis. Results of the World Bank studies. We can talk about ours, right? Okay, I can tell you, January of 2012, I'm ready to go to the States, and I get a phone call by the chief guy. The chief guy who does this type, Lori Ohala, professor in Finland. For Kiona, it's a good story. The guy calls me and tells me the Greek government invited us to help improve the national logistics system. We saw Piraeus, and now they ask us to go to Chios. And he goes, "I remember you always talked to me about Thessaloniki. Why are they sending us to Chios?" I said, "Why are you asking me this?" Chios, right? Logistics for Chios. The whole team, this is the most significant team for logistics, with more than 8 chief economists. Jean-François Hervis is the chief economist from the World Bank in Washington, D.C., along with Laura Harald. These are the guys who do it. And there are countries who pay consultants big money to be able to get into the list. So I had to intervene personally, postpone my trip, get a personal, rent a bus to get these guys from the airport, to bring them to the port, bring all the stakeholders together, and guess what the guy said? It's impressive what you have Thessaloniki here. Mutual agreement of all the great stakeholders, you have potential for growth, you are potentially the Rotterdam of the entire Southeastern European Peninsula. You have to utilize this. Lost opportunities, lost opportunities. Greece as a logistics hub is located as in one of the 3 largest global intercontinental routes with more than 19 million TEUs going by our neighborhood. Trade flows in our region are going more than 8%, reaching 85 billion. There are two main differences. Transshipment for Piraeus, so all the flows that go through Piraeus in the neighborhood, yes, stop with large vessels at Piraeus and then use small feeder ships to go to final destinations. That's transshipment, but there's only one port as the main gateway for the entire Southeastern European region. Why do I care about Southeastern Europe? According to all forecasts, Southeastern Europe for the next 10 years will become the major consumption and manufacturing segment area throughout the EU. So I will consume and build in Czech Republic, for example. I will need what? I will need semi-finished goods and raw materials. Where will I get them from? I will get them from Southeast Asia. Which ports will serve me? Today, the crazy thing is everything comes from northwestern ports, such as Port of Antwerp, Rotterdam, right? And then I have to travel to go down. There's a small port of a city called Thessaloniki that is only 79 kilometers off to the borders of Scotland. 79. You know the distance from the port of Piraeus? 600 kilometers. So if you talk to any businessman who does business in logistics, the value proposition is there. But the Greek politicians again and again fail to understand the potential of this port, of the port of Thessaloniki, as a gateway. The guy who runs port structure for the entire European Union is a gentleman that I have the privilege of calling my friend, Dimitris Theologidis. He's a guy who cares about the country, and this is circa his graph. That's the intermodal network that EU is supporting. It's going to take an additional 200 billion to fully develop this for the next 10 years. Intermodality. The trick is, I come to Antwerp, I have to have networks to support door-to-door delivery to any node within the network. the country of Greece, again and again, we failed to put our country, to put the nation, as an integral part of all the entire of these corridors. We tried. The Greek scientists are doing very well, but not the Greek state itself. So, wrapping up for ports. Ports have local benefits, but also have global and regional attributes. Private ports providers are increasingly global in scope and scale. Globalization challenges the protection of public and local interests. Longshoremen, even in California, at the ports of California, the last few months they're on strike. They're one of the rare industries that you're going to find in the States going through some incredible benefits that they have, and they threaten worldwide balance of trade. Well, the same thing happens again in port operators throughout the globe. Why did private sector participation emerge? Well, because labor practices, labor unions often ignore the need to reduce the labor force and upgrade skills. Centralized government control is often too rigid. Do we know that? Yes. Public investment in port infrastructure is often inefficient to make it happen. So, all the great ports throughout the globe, they operate under strategic overseeing of the government, but they are operated by global players. Public service ports, tool ports, where the port authority manages the port infrastructure and heavy superstructure, or land port, the port authority acts as a regulatory body and as a landlord, or a fully privatized port. Well, the question is, what do we really want in Greece? Do we know it? The government doesn't know it. The government is not going to tell you exactly what model they're going to use. And the previous government opted to sell shares of the ports. No one throughout the European Union will find that practice. Look, tons of questions to what is going to happen in some news. I finish with this, five more minutes and I'm done. Strengths and opportunities are there. Requirements for a Greek success story. We have to holistically challenge the entire issue. But we have to bring world-class operators to establish the country as a major hub. And of course, we have all these great geographical advantages, being Egnatia Road, free zones, and we have threats for the other ports that today, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Constanza, they have better operational stability and improved services with up to 50% lower customs and times. Just one. This is a vision here for the country of Greece. We could have shipments coming from all over the globe, coming here, ready from different suppliers, having the ability to postpone. So great products come to the port of Piraeus, to the port of Thessaloniki, great semi-finished. Multinationals want that, so I want to bring them to Greece. I'm much closer now to final markets, so I have a more accurate data. This is the time for me to do the coloring, the assembly, language, and I get a stamp of approval by you. Wonderful value proposition. But who's going to follow through? So all the science is behind it. Just to give you a number, according to McKinsey, transformation of Piraeus and Thessaloniki to hubs will contribute to the Greek economy of 1.3 billion of annual gross value added, and at least 9,000 jobs, new jobs in the next 2 years. And I'm not even talking about the increased trade. Increased trade means what? Increase ideas along with a great educational system. So there's value between free trade, soliciting, taking advantage of these free trade flows, along with what is the theme so far of what you guys have been talking the last 3 days. The role of the human capital. The role of the human capital, the sacrifice made by Greek families in investing, the outstanding track record of Greek scientists based on excellence in meritocratic environments. I already talked to you about this, right? So I'm not going to go into that. We have different levels of work, transformational, transactional. Hopefully, we don't want to be there in Greece. We want to be in the last category, interactional, knowledge-based workers. We have to have knowledge-based workers because that's the only way to sustain quality of life in what we do. And guess what? We have human personnel in Greece who can do that. That's a fact that has been established. So, in this environment, the illiterate of the 21st century, Toffler says, will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot unlearn relearn, and constantly learn. The Greek universities, can they provide this? Does the Greek society understand this? Or are they going to be shielded behind promises of permanent employment where nobody will have to change for the years to come? Talent is a dominant factor determining national competitiveness. Logistics, talent. So they've spoken about talent. I'm only going to show you a graph, and a graph tells a story. The darker the blue, OECD graph, the darker the blue, the more patents per citizen. So what do you see there? Which countries are more competitive? And of course, it's one of the KPIs, right? I'm not going to tell you here, I'm not a politician, I'm a scientist. So God forbid, patents, it's only one of the KPIs, but it's a good KPI. So what do you see? We have nothing. Which countries have something? The countries? Sorry?
Northern Europe.
Northern Europe, right? Scandinavia, something in London, something in Germany, countries who have invested in education. Politicians do not like this. Do not like it because it's not sexy. They're not going to go through for new establishments, new buildings. If you're really going to, the Economist ran a beautiful survey among C-level executives in 2013, I believe, global, asking what is the best investment for increasing innovation? The answer is education, education, education. Policy ramifications, if we really want to change that in Greece, we have to look at education, employment regulation, tax structure, immigration, ways to bring in FDI and intellectual property. Incentives, for example, you know better than me, we are regulated by Brussels, right? Greece cannot say I'm going to give incentives to any company that is going to come with a great idea, but there are opportunities to explore for a small geographical area that I call innovation zone, I can give special incentives. So the role of the Leviathan, of the monstrosity of the state in this is critical. To promote innovation and entrepreneurship, all the state can do that. In schools, vocational training institutions and universities. Competition and price, by the way, have been proven to be the most effective. So kudos to you for doing something like this. Facilitate access to capital for early stage startups, angel investors. Enhance commercialization of publicly funded research. So I spend taxpayers' money. I have to enhance commercialization. It's only innovative if the industry is doing that. And in this environment, I'm finishing, the Greek universities need to evolve, need to become more entrepreneurial. Do I have a hope for that? Not under the current law that goes us even years back. They have to become more nimble, more autonomous. They have the ability to compete for students, for grants, exactly. Like the system that we see in the States. Right now, everything is overregulated. For Kenya, you know that we have laws from the Minister of Education telling us that in February, that I have to offer an exam period, and now in June. This is by law. For 2015, I also in the June exam period, I also have to offer exams for the fall semester classes too. This is a ministerial decree. So we have a lot of way to go to talk about an autonomous university that can be nimble, that can take decisions, that can react. But of course, a two-way street. Accountability is a two-way street. In this environment, innovation investment zones, President Obama also supports this, provide synergies among all the stakeholders of the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem are very important. So despite the internet, co-location, so Christos Christopoulos is a great idea. He would love to be in an environment, he can walk out of his office and meet a VC, an angel investor, a lawyer about his patents, an IT guy who can contribute. Proximity matters. And this is the reason that all these Silicon Valley types become self-fulfilling prophecies, because everybody wants to copycat that. Everybody wants to go where? To places where the quality of life is great and has the opportunity to grow. Well, do we have places like this in Greece? We have great places that people love to live. How about if we append that? So how about if we append that and do the following here? So here's before my tenure finished as a president of the Alexandria Innovation Zone, I established by law this. This is an area to the east side of Thessaloniki. This is the only zone that we have in Greece. With zero funding by the Greek state. When I presented to the Greek parliament, the MP who was in charge asked me, Professor Yacoubou, how much money did you get from the state to support this? And the answer was zero. The answer was zero. Other than the money that he had for the 3 individuals, personnel, and the board of directors. Zero. What is the idea here? Next to the airport, right? I have more than 15 institutions of the entire innovative entrepreneurship ecosystem around. The top engineering school with an R&D department, incubators, private parks, IT parks, hospitals, areas that people would love to go and play, less than 1 hour from some of the best beaches of northern Greece. What is there not to like? Everything is there to like, other than the role, the regulatory environment. When you go back again and again, the role of the zone would be what? To coordinate, to brand, to do branding, funding, clustering, right? Brand out, welcome to the zone of Thessaloniki, we have something special here. Attract funding, and indeed the structural European funds that can sustain, support SMEs that invest in R&D, small setups of first startups, but nothing of these things have been employed. And the vision that I had there was, you see that red over there, that small area within the zone, that would be the first nucleus where we had solicited allowance by the European Commission to allow us to give specific incentives to companies who will come there. Brussels ain't going to give you incentive for a large area, but they will allow you, if we can document that we're going to use this catalytically to improve, they will allow you to do that. That's my last slide. In a nutshell, and apologies for all the craziness. I went to the super structure and try to go back to this slide. But I favor the return of the cosmopolitan, extrovert Greek businessman that I've seen, that I used to see a lot in northern Greece. All the northern Greek businessmen, that's how they operate, always looking at the Balkans, right? Southeastern European region, I prefer calling it. I favor that feeling that when I went to Cornell for years before I returned back to 2003 in Greece, it was a token of pride of being Greek in the States. So I want to tell you guys, from 87, when I came to do my PhD in Ithaca, to 2003, when I returned back to Greece, it was always a source of pride of being Greek, because I belong to the generation of these guys who excelled in everything that they've done. And that's the reason you're going to see again in the States, attraction of Greek students. You know how humiliating it is for the last few years to go to countries with Protestant ethic of northern Greece and try to convince them that you're not a thief. For countries that unofficially they will come and ask for my students. I have leading professors from Holland and Germany. They will ask for students, even for students who are not willing to do graduate work. How about if you send them to me and I will pay them to work on one of my projects? I have the other secretary of Germany, Dr. Rachel, wanted to meet with me to ask me how can they attract more of my engineering students. And he tells me, I don't want to go in public to state that I support Great Drain. And my answer is the following. This is how I conclude. My answer is, I encourage young Greeks to get out. Because the best investment they can do is in their education, and I believe that the future of Greece will be brighter when these Greeks, with global exposure and global stimuli, they will come back. Dr. Rachel asked me, why would they want to come back? And I told him, I'm not going to give you the essence of Greece, but let's say a few words, because of human relationships. Again and again, you and I met Greeks, successful, rich, but all of them yearning of coming back. Even the ones who didn't come back, down in their heart, they're bitter because the alma mater, the motherland, didn't allow them to go back. In this role, we have to remember, do we have a strategy? Well, logistics, innovation, educational system innovation provide two potential pillars. The Greek state, though, has done nothing to that effect. English-speaking programs that will attract students. We do have few success stories in my previous slide. The International University in Northern Greece is an example. Again, it has a guy who runs the show, Professor Gramenos, out of London, that is so strong that he was able to say, you know what, I'm not going to play the ball game. I'm really going to establish the university as a center of excellence. We have Athens University of Economics and Business, who's done really well with the English-speaking programs. So you know what it is in Thessaloniki? I teach once in a year an operations management class. So I have guys who drive from Sofia, Bulgaria. They come on a Friday, they leave their work, they take classes. Sunday night, they're at home. Where do they go? they go to a major hub of trade and innovation and education of the entire Southeastern European region. That would be a vision for Northern Greece. Talking about vision. The catalytic role of the monstrosity that is called government is really quick. The significance of the education system. Nowhere in the world has any innovation zone been developed without a strong engineering school. Nowhere. The need for political consensus. We need a new patriotic paradigm shift. We need politicians that will say, you know what? I have yet, I'm looking, I'm yearning, I'm passionately looking for this politician who will say, I don't care if I'm going to be re-elected or not, but I'm going to do what I think is best for the country. We knew a strategy that we never had, and we knew we need a narrative. What is a narrative? We need to be able to population. Listen, even if that's what I beg to differ with the previous speaker, respectfully. I beg to differ. Even if you paid 700, even if you pay 500, I demand for you to be ethical, to be to the point, to raise up and touch the dignity and the pride of your parents, because you care about your nation. Thank you. Apologies for the lengthy talk. Apologies for the increased tone of voice at the end. But what Greeks had suffered for the last few years is the case where we didn't have a narrative. We didn't have a narrative to say this is the big picture. This is why we're doing it. But I want to come up with something positive. I want to thank the organizers of the Greek Economic Forum. I see the colleagues from Harvard. Professor Rapti, thank you for supporting them. It's not a thank you, it's not from me. Professor Gofopoulos, for being there, because when I saw his name in the list, I knew that was something serious, and I wasn't. I was proven right. All the great guys that I met, but you guys have an obligation now. You develop what you developed, and solidly I congratulate you. But now you need to come up with the following plan. If we don't do that, the whole effort dissipates. So it cannot be all of us run these great shows, and I know the high when you organize and you've done it, but when this finishes on a Saturday night, do me a favor, and I'll make time for you guys. If you think I can add value, do me a favor and come up with a strategy of how you're going to follow through. Capture what happened, analyze, develop an organizational memory for your organization, run it even better, even more forceful. Become a source, become a stream, attract the great. You can do it better than us. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yakovlev, for your kind speech, for kind words. I think we're right, and I'm going to follow your advice. We need people like you as mentors. Thank you very much again. We'll follow with Dr. Vasilis Anis, Professor of Medicine and Biochemistry, Director of Molecular Genetics from Boston University School of Medicine, who will talk us about the potential role of Greek scientists abroad in the Greek higher education and research.
In Greek Economic Forum. Το βρήκες. Τις φαλοκράτες. Να βάλεις και αυτό εδώ για να μπορώ να... δεν νομίζω. Um, I was, first of all, I would like to thank very much Christos and Vasiliki and the other organizers for putting together this forum. And second, I was very impressed yesterday by Professor Lauren Sammons for giving us an outline of what he's going to say, and I prepare my own outline that will be distributed. Um, I'm- oh. Okay, I'm going to just describe to you the concept of potential role of Greek scientists abroad in Greek education and research. And in order to do that, I included three topics in my presentation. One is a BU Crete student exchange program. Second is an MD PhD program that we started in Crete and is operating well. And then explore the possibility of participation of the Greek scientists in student exchanges, graduate education, and research. The programs or the topics that outlined here offer an example of low-cost initiatives that may have major implications in producing leaders, not only in biological science and medicine, but in other areas like engineering, we can expect a lot, social, political sciences, economics, literature, art, other areas. And I start with the first topic. The medical school of the University of Crete and the University of Crete established in 2001 a student exchange program. As faculty of both universities, I was assigned to facilitate and support these programs for the last 15 years. The protagonist for the creation of the exchange program was the dean of the medical school at that time, Aram Chobenia, who later became president of the university. And he signed an agreement with the dean of the University of Crete Medical School at that time. And 2 years earlier, a plane tree was planted outside in the court outside the medical school. And this symbolizes the collaboration of the two institutions, Boston and Crete. And I will come back to the story of the tree later on.
But you're working good there.
Which means I deteriorated, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, this gentleman was high official administrator in Boston University at the time, and he did the logistics to import the tree from Kos. The tree was a gift of the municipality of Kos to the Boston University. A major advancement regarding this program is happened in 2011 when with the new agreement, with the new deal, we managed to have the students register and take credit. And this now offers major advantage for the medical students to come back and pursue either clinical training in the United States, research careers, or academic careers, as we're going to see. During the last 15 years, 130 medical students, Greek, have come to Boston to this exchange program, and an equal number of students from Boston University went to Crete. The objective of the program is and was to create the next generation of leaders in medicine and academic medicine in Greece, and to the extent it was possible to support American Greek students who wanted to pursue this area. The only obligation that the students had was to succeed and help others succeed. An index of the usefulness of a program is the success of each student or each participant. And the students who visited from Greece felt that the American system of medical education was the greatest in the world, and the benefit that they obtained was great. And a large percentage of the students came back to pursue research or enter into the training clinical program, and finish training, clinical training in the United States. Some of them also pursued PhD programs in Greece, and those students, several of those students attended the MD-PhD program that I'm going to describe below, but then came back and did clinical training in Greece. Now, the success of the program, as shown here, has been, I would say, impressive. And a large number of students who pursue clinical training, who came earlier actually in the program, reached the level of assistant professor in medical school, 8 of them, in very prestigious medical schools in the United States. That is difficult even for the American students to enter those programs. Those that became assistant professors are indicated by red stars, and there is another slide here. And a number of them that attended also the PhD program are shown with asterisks here. Now, so I mentioned that 8 of them reached the rank of assistant professor. A number of them are in clinical training in very prestigious programs, specialty programs in universities such as Cornell, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, and other places that are outlined here. The American students who went to Greece also felt that they benefited from exposure to the Greek culture, Greek medical education, and clinical practice in Greece. And here are some of their comments. For instance, I was impressed by the great hospitality, and this is a compliment of our culture. Professors, attendings, residents, and medical students all contributed to our learning. Every student should have the opportunity to have an international elective. This exchange highlighted many of the problems encountered in the United States system that has very high reliance on interventional care as opposed to preventive care. This is a group of the students who went to Crete in 2006. This is in a party in my house, and this is a group of BU students who was preparing to go to Crete in 2007. The professors who are responsible in Crete for the exchange program was Andreas Plaitatis and Dimitris Bubas. Now, for how the program was supported, and the support required was minimal because the program became possible because the medical schools waived the requirement for tuition for the medical students. For the first year, the Hellenic College provided room and board for the medical students. A foundation provided support for the third year, and then subsequent years, the program was supported by small donations by faculty and other people, not exceeding the amount of $3,000 to $5,000 a year. In the last 3 years, the Medical Foundation, the Pancretan Association provides $3,500 a year. So these programs give an example of low-cost initiatives that can have major impact on the careers of young people. Now, for the remaining of my time in academia, I am committed to support the program, but I do feel that the long run, after I'm gone, the program needs permanent support. And I believe that investment in young people to realize their potential is a noble idea that needs to be supported, and we are working to see how the program can survive in the future. Now, I come to the other topic now. Oh, okay. I promised to you to tell you what happened to the tree. The little tree that you saw there has grown and now is 45 feet tall tree. And this is a picture of the visiting students who come every year. And this is a picture of 213. And we take a picture under the tree of Hippocrates. Now, another tree was planted at Tufts University in 2011. Another tree was brought back from this one to Crete, and I planted at the Medical School of Crete. And 2 trees were sent this year to the University of Houston Medical School and University of Alabama Medical School. And perhaps this can continue in other medical schools in the future. Now, then the PhD program is the second topic I want to talk about. Directors of the program are, the first director was Dimitris Bubas, who now moved to Athens, and the current director is Dimitris Kardasis. who was my graduate student at BU and now is a professor in Crete. The program started in 2003 with funding from the Ministry of Education after it ranked first in a national competition. It is designed to provide basic science training that leads to PhD for life science students and MD PhD to medical school graduates. The concept of a correct MD PhD degree is novel in Greece. The program has critical mass of over 50 well-trained faculty and visiting faculty, national and international collaborations, and has adopted a quality culture that transforms the existing culture of the university. The program has various innovations. It's focused on the molecular, cellular, and genetic basis of human diseases. The students of the program have the opportunity to select a thesis advisor among 40 top research laboratories of Greek faculty, and also select outside advisors outside Crete. The program is evaluated annually, internally, and every 5 years by an external evaluation committee. Has international advisory committee and issues a newsletter every 6 months. This is the structure of the program. The students have an intense 7-month coursework, then have 4 months of laboratory rotations what we call, then enter into a research laboratory, work another year, get a master's, and those who are selected can move directly to the PhD program, take the qualified exams, and get a degree in another 3 years. The program has a directory that describes the faculty, the activities, the courses, issues a newsletter, as I indicated, that has news for the students and the faculty and the research that has been made. Has international and national collaborations. Among those are the Institute of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology, the Fleming Institute, the Institute of Academy of Athens, Boston University, Harvard University, Mount Sinai, University of Cologne, University of Texas, Southwestern. These are the international faculty that come every year, actually, and we managed to scrape a budget to support their travel and stay in Crete, and every time they change. In those are included few Greek scientists, biological sciences. And these are the medical students who did their PhD in the MD PhD program, but did their thesis in laboratories outside the country. And the places that they did their research are high quality places: Harvard Medical School, Boston University, UCLA, Southwestern Medical Center 1. The program doesn't have massive production of degrees. It's focused on giving quality education. so has graduated over several years, 30 PhDs, 85 masters, 38 students are now in the master's cycle, and has produced 130 publications with first authorship of the students of the program. The program follows the career of the graduates. Several of them have postdoctoral fellowships in the United States, Columbia University, a couple of them UCLA, a number of them fellowship in Cleveland Clinic for this person who is also an MD, and is doing clinical training there. The program has an external evaluation committee and was evaluated twice, in 2006 and 2011. And chairman was David Selden, who is professor of medicine and chief of hematology oncology of Boston University. And that's what the report said. This is a unique graduate program that seeks to train physician scientists and to create academic leaders for Greek medicine in the future. If the program continues to flourish and expand, it will serve as a source of future outstanding scientists and faculty in medicine and related basic biomedical science. The program has the potential to serve as an example for other graduate programs in this. These are also some pictures of the students in different academic years. Students who graduated and now are doing postdoctoral work. We had a group retreat in 2006, I think, and these are all the classes of Here are all the classes of the students. Here is Fotis Kafatos. Some of you have heard of him. He was the person who created the Institute of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology in Crete, and catalyzed all this culture of excellence that was established in Crete at that time. Now, what about the future? What are the plans? Is the creation of interdepartmental programs or inter-university or transnational European programs. Expansion of collaboration in graduate programs with non-European universities or individual scientists working in North America. And this is an important point because we envision that these scientists can participate in short-term teaching in graduate programs, which we have done already, serve as mentors of young scientists who return to Greece, accept Greek graduate students to do part of or the entire thesis in their laboratories, and of course funding for stipends of the students for us who are running the program are very important for the success and for achieving excellence. And just few words for the third topic, which is the participation of Greek scientists in student exchanges, graduate education, and research. With the law of 211 for higher education, there were unique opportunities for Greeks to contribute systematically to the higher education and research efforts in Greece. The law was revision in 6 to 12 months and short-term 3 months visiting positions in Greek universities, allowed dual appointments in Greek and foreign universities, allowed Greek faculty to work for up to 6 months in foreign universities, and participating scientists would have the opportunity to engage in collaborative research, participate in European Union grant applications, teach graduate programs, and attract quality graduate students in their laboratories. This was the vision of the law. Unfortunately, the revision of the law is underway, and there is a risk of, if not certainty, that these great initiatives may be rolled back. The initiatives that could have given the opportunities for Greek scientists working abroad to contribute to Greece. What is the summary? I personally believe that the greatest resource Greece has is the high potential of its young people. The Greek scientists working abroad, individually or collectively, despite laws, can enhance the educational and career opportunities of Greek students and contribute to the graduate education and research in Greece. And optimal utilization of the potential of the young people offers the best hope for Greece to overcome its difficulties and move forward.
Why is the dentistry included under this medical school graduate school? My son is studying in the University of Athens. It would be great if he had this opportunity.
If he applies, he will be considered. It's a matter of applying.
Oh, even dentistry.
Yes, I mean, he has the background, he has the potential, so if he's a successful dental student and applies, there are possibilities. If he ranks high compared to others, he will be accepted. Actually,
Even though there's not an undergraduate program for it.
no, this is graduate program.
Yeah, graduate, but I assumed it had to have an undergraduate, have a graduate.
He has to graduate from the dental school and then apply, compete with everybody who applies, and if he's comparable to the other students, then he might be admitted to the program.
What is that based on? Grade point average or?
No, grade point is one consideration and a serious one, because shows the average of commitment and performance. He has recommendation letters and letters of recommendation if you work with somebody and work in the lab, and somebody says that he can do research, then this counts positively. And gives an interview, and he is assessed also there.
Very much.
Actually, I just returned from Greece 3 weeks ago, where we had 40 very qualified applicants for this program, and we had great difficulty drawing the line which to select.
Any other questions from Dr. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samis. We're continuing with Mr. Konstantin Tarabanis, BA in Molecular and Cellular Biology from Harvard College, and his colleagues currently studying for his MD candidate in the Harvard Medical School. He's finishing 2019. Here's going to talk about healthcare management license from the Arabind eye care system. Mr. Vance.
So hello. So I'm just going to provide a short suggestion, which I think could possibly solve certain issues with healthcare mismanagement that's been happening in Greece lately. So I mean, one of the major challenges that Greece is and has been facing for years now is its ailing healthcare system. As many of you know and may have personally experienced, getting treated in Greece's universal healthcare system proves to be an ordeal for most patients. I mean, let alone the long waiting times and for non-urgent operations, the quality of healthcare received is usually poor, involving outdated techniques and often little attention from your doctor. Identifying the root of the problem is of course not an easy task, given the multiplicity of factors that affect it. Among other causes though, one can pinpoint the original poor design and management of the system, lacking most importantly economic efficiency. Apart from the design, however, universal healthcare, being a public endeavor, also inherently lacks, in my opinion, the self-regulating nature and cost control measures that essentially render a private sector opportunity efficient. As a result, not only are taxpayers' money wasted, but also the healthcare system is adding to Greece's infamous deficit. To further exacerbate the situation, as is widely known but rarely publicly professed, doctors in public hospitals often intentionally undermine the quality of public healthcare in order to increase their private practice clientele. Hence, at the end of the day, any person that can afford to pay for private healthcare will do so, avoiding public healthcare provision at any cost. Clearly, given the pivotal importance of healthcare, this is fundamentally unethical. I mean, not only is part of the population paying twice for healthcare, but also lower classes are essentially barred from receiving any kind of high quality services. I believe a potential solution to this issue can be found in the realm of social entrepreneurship in the context of healthcare. The idea is to supplement public healthcare by developing private healthcare deeply rooted in compassion and service to society. Now, many of you may doubt that compassion and private initiative could ever be coupled, often putting the two at the very opposite poles. However, this is reality today in southern India. About the inception of Aravind. Now, in 1976, a 58-year-old Dr. Govindappa Venkateswamy, or commonly known as Dr. V, founded Aravind, an eye clinic operating out of his family home in Tamil Nadu, South India. His mission was to eliminate curable blindness by treating age-related cataract. His business plan was simple and paradoxical. At Aravind, if you could not pay for surgery, you did not have to. If you could not reach the clinic, its doctors would come to you. Today, the mission remains the same, and the Aravind Eye Care System is the largest and most productive blindness prevention center in the world. Aravind has ripped the price tag off sight restoring surgery, treating more than a third of its patients at no cost. Most importantly, however, at no charge. Most importantly, however, clinical outcomes are similar whether or not the patient is able to pay. Now, at first glance, that would seem as a non-viable business model. However, Aravind, a non-profit organization, consistently runs an operating surplus, and its patient services are entirely self-funded, not depending on government aid, private donations, or foreign funding. The key, Dr. V insists, is efficiency in all aspects of management. To name one example, the National Health Service, NHS in the United Kingdom, does a little over 500,000 ophthalmic eye surgeries annually. Aravind does roughly 300,000. Now, the impressive fact is not that a single organization carries a bit more than 50% of the ophthalmic surgical volume of an entire nation, but the jaw-dropping fact is that it does so at less than 1% of Britain's cost, 1%, which is too big a difference to be explained by external factors such as regional economies and regulations. As one would expect, Arabin has attracted international acclaim, although not many people around the world actually know about it. It is, as a case study, mandatory reading for every MBA student that goes to the Harvard Business School across the river. In 2008, Arabin won the Gates Award for Global Health, the Health and Humanitarian Prize in 2010, and in that same year, Arabin's CEO made it into Time magazine's list of 100 most influential people in the world. A year later, a book was written about the Arabin case entitled Infinite Vision, How Arabin Became the World's Greatest Business Case for Compassion. So how is Arabin's healthcare model sustainable, let alone profitable? Although the answer, of course, cannot fit into a short speech, I will try to present some important aspects that I came to realize after I visited and volunteered at Arabin facilities in January of 2014. Now, for Dr. V, founder of Arabin, the key is coupling high-quality healthcare provision with strict economic efficiency. The way this was partly achieved is by building a hospital as factory model. In other words, operations in Arabin are performed in an assembly line fashion, just the same way a Coca-Cola bottle would be built in a factory. Now, this streamlined workflow increases efficiency, which means less waiting time. An important part of maintaining the streamlined workflow is the employment of skilled paraprofessionals, especially for the steps that do not require a doctor's expertise. Now, this does not occur as much in the West and in Greece, partly due to patients' uninformed desire to be handled solely by physicians, and partly due to resistance by medical associations that do not wish to see part of their sphere of influence being lost to nurses and skilled paraprofessionals. However, the employment of the latter reduces costs and ensures a streamlined workflow, key to achieving high efficiency. Hence, the doctor's expertise is put to maximum use, with each doctor going from one operation room to the next. With daily task repetition, the efficiency of this assembly line fashion healthcare system increases exponentially. Consequently, waiting times are reduced, and hence time and resources are not wasted, reducing the cost of healthcare provision and rendering this model sustainable. Most importantly, however, this results in a high volume of patients being treated every single day. This leads me to the second important point about this business model, and that is the way it utilizes economies of scale. To get a sense of what high volume means at Arabin eye surgeons average about 2,000 surgeries per year, compared against an Indian average of 400 and a US average of under 200. The reason Arabin aims at high volume, and this is very important, is because the more the patients, of course, the lower the cost of healthcare provision in this assembly line fashion healthcare system. Now, if too few patients are admitted in any given day, it happens that that healthcare provision costs could actually even double. Now, this is why it is financially beneficial for Arabin to reach out to the lower classes and admit more patients from them, even though they might not have the ability to pay for the health services provided. Of course, the simultaneous societal benefit is enormous, as you can imagine. What is astonishing, however, is that Arabin manages to keep providing high-quality healthcare on a daily basis, despite the high volume of patients it serves. The answer to this additional paradox may lay in the intense training programs their physicians and paraprofessionals receive before being admitted. The training program is of pivotal importance and has attracted residents from prestigious US hospitals such as the Johns Hopkins Medical School Hospital and Mass Eye near across the river. Now, if it weren't for their very high quality healthcare, then affluent individuals will not seek treatment in Arabin, and then Arabin would practically have no income. In other words, Arabin's model is kind of like redistributive taxation. In the words of its founder, we did good quality work, so the rich people came and paid us, and we could treat the poor people with the money we saved. The poor people brought more people, the rich people brought more rich people, so now here we are. So many of you may be wondering why this may be at all relevant to Greece and its own healthcare system. Well, the last paradox in the Arabin story is that the organization is helping other organizations and hospitals to replicate its model. Committed to its deeply humanitarian and compassionate mission of treating all curable blindness, not only does Arabin permit others to copy the very systems that give it a competitive advantage, but it also encourages them to do so. So also, of course, there are going to be a number of complications that will have to be fleshed out when it comes to expanding this model to a larger country in all aspects of medicine. I think it is certainly worth the effort of considering as a solution to our constantly long-term ailing healthcare system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Konstantin. We'll continue with the presentations of our contest winners. So I'll ask all of them to come here so we can present them first and to say the order of your presentations.
You might want to say a few words about
Yeah.
who came up with the contest.
Absolutely. So in this Greek Economic Forum here in Boston, Harvard University campus, we decided to have some scholarships, a contest, where we received approximately 200 applications, and which of them we choose 5 best of these ideas, and we paid all the expenses to bring them here to you and present those ideas in front of you. To take them, as I have here, it's Mr. Georgios Kalpias, business analyst, EDF Energy, MSc. Which his idea was the role of renewable energy projects in the economic growth, social development, and prosperity of Greece. Impact assessment using socioeconomic analysis and strategic planning tools. An applause for Mr. Kalpias. Also, it's Dr. Konstantinos Koutsis, PhD in computer science, combining big metadata with standardized ontologies to identify anormalization and incompatibility among government information systems. Ms. Theodora Tsintzou, PhD, University College London, Institute of Education, Department of Culture, Communication and Media, and she wrote about the golden radio pursuit, the hunt for Greece's next day in education. Ms. Elizabeth Foskalos, MSc in clinical psychology, turning Greece into the European Silicon Valley for green research and a roadmap proposal. And then we have a team here. It's Mr. Iraklis Tsakourakis, PhD in computer science, Stevens Institute of Technology, Mr. Nikos Mavrogiannis, MSc in management information system, and Mr. John Bouffis, Master Engineering, Naval Architecture, Ocean Engineering, Stevens Institute of Technology. And they sent us the application about maritime victim mitigation. Thank you very much, all of you. I hope you're happy to be here and proud about yourselves. We'll start with Ms. Elizabeth Foskalos and her presentation. You can all go back to your seats, and I'll ask one of you to come by and give the presentation. Thank you very much.
Great, yeah. So, hi, first of all, thank you for the invitation, and I would like to thank you, most of all, who created such a fruitful lobby for exchanging ideas and for inviting me share with you my vision on how to turn Greece into the right place to live, work, and prosper. Thank you very much. So I'm Elizabeth Foskolos. I hold a master's degree in clinical psychology. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to turn Greece into the European Silicon Valley for green research. So now you may wonder what a clinical psychologist has to say about that. So let me give you a little bit of background of how I came up with this idea. So I first got inspired when my mentor at Columbia, who is the director of the global mental health program there, asked me to help her prepare her talk for the G20 summit and sort of like back her up with research findings just to make the case that mental health is of vital importance for economy. So the case was that I really when I was reviewing the literature, um, I was really astonished by the fact that all this prioritization was around environmental issues. So the thing is, this she would act as an advocate um, for including mental health in the next Millennium Development Goals. And as you may know, these goals actually um, like define the criteria for future development and growth. So the case was I was astonished really when I had to somehow come up with an idea on how to relate mental health with economy, but I had to like go through the environmental path. So that's how I got. So that's how I set it down for the eco part. And then I mostly focus on research because I think that like a innovative ecosystem is strictly based on solid research infrastructure. I'm not in this field, but I aspire to work with experts from various disciplines to turn this vision into reality. So let me walk you through some brief overview of what we're going to discuss. So first, I'm going to try to decompose the Silicon Valley model, identify the key principles that are applicable to the Greek context. And then I'm addressing Greece as a raw talent. I'm going to go over the current situation and the hidden assets that can sort of facilitate the transition to that model. And then I'm going to end up with a roadmap proposal, a policy plan to turn this vision into a reality. So, decomposing the Silicon Valley model, we end up seeing that the game is basically played by three major parts: universities, industry, and government. But the most important role has been played by the universities, where education has been formed in such a way that students and entrepreneurs are closely linked to a startup philosophy and have the capability to sort of work together with people from a broader community from a variety of backgrounds. And then this intellectual capacity is strongly linked to the industry and is actually able to answer specific questions that are raised. And then government, sort of without being too involved, as the case of Greece, sort of backs up the collaboration by either offering research funding or like forming a business-friendly legislative environment. So just to be clear, I'm not suggesting the regeneration of the model. This is not feasible at all. And the reason is, first of all, one, um, production is now fragmented. It's not like no country or one side can excel in all stages of production because things are not reduced in multiple stages, multiple locals, and are sort of orchestrated by global networks. So I try to sort of identify the key principles that are more applicable to the Greek context. So adaptation that rather than copy pasting is a way to go for Greece. So first of all, we have an interdisciplinary, diverse, and risk-taking individuals that form a solid research infrastructure which is strongly linked to industry. And this is a very basic key of Silicon Valley's success for me. Clustered networking, which is basically the process of clustering is bringing different institutions together so as to form the critical mass talent and gather it in one specific location. And in that way, networks within clusters, networks are established between students and entrepreneurs, and then in that way, limited resources can be more efficiently distributed, and innovation has great responsibility to be successful. And then very specific governmental involvement, as the ways I mentioned before. But how does Greece currently perform in terms of these principles? Unfortunately, investment on R&D, research and development, is really low. As you can see in the graph, Greece spends less than any other Eurozone country on research and development, with public investments accounting for 0.67%, while private investments making up less than 0.2%. The current public research system, which is, hasn't co-evolved with the industry and is very mature, mostly supported by the European funding. Also, the best educated people are leaving the country, and there's a limited investment in innovation and sustainability, with environmental expenditures representing less than 1% of the GDP. But I think the very crucial barrier is the highly regulated economy. We have one of the most highly regulated economies. Bureaucracy costs Greece 6.8% of the GDP, while the average in Europe is always approximately 3.5. And the other side of the coin of regulation is corruption. As you can see, this is there at the bottom. A high corruption perception index corresponds to a lower level of corruption in a given country. So this is for me the main reason why researchers leave and investors park their funds out of the country. But okay, let's not be too pessimistic. There are some hidden assets that are substantially underappreciated. First of all, Greece ranks among the top European performers in energy productivity of its economy and in domains related to eco-development. And I want you to take a look at the resource efficiency outcomes. Specifically in the domain of energy productivity, Greece performs above the average with a score of 104, where the average is 100. But the most astonishing fact is that in resource efficiency output, which is a metric that measures how countries operate in terms of academic publications related to eco-innovation and media coverage. Greece ranks among top six European performers. Number two. So I use the number of European Research Council grants as a proxy to measure the level of research excellence. And sadly, you see that Greece scores really low. But then averaging this number over the population, something very magical happens. Well, Greece actually competes really strong economies like Germany and France, implying that, yes, we have a great power. And zooming in the number of ERC grants, you can see that Greek researchers are living abroad more than those that are in country, implying that we have a very impressive diaspora that if it could be unleashed within the country would be turned into an innovative economy more quickly. So how can Greece become the next Silicon Valley? By using its environmental advantages beyond tourism, trade, and agriculture, and organizing its brain power around the environmental field according to the Silicon Valley principles to build up a strong research infrastructure. So I'm suggesting this step-based roadmap to create the Silicon Valley context, taking into consideration the very limited financial resources of the country. So as a first step, Greece should identify the specific domains in which it performs well compared to the other countries, like for example, as I mentioned, energy productivity, and establish a prioritized national research agenda. Step 2, given the specialization of existing research institutes and universities, research capacities need to be extended with a strong focus on creating spatially bounded knowledge spillovers, and then these spillovers need to be linked somehow through launching interdisciplinary labs and put them work together. And this can be facilitated through the funding provided by the program called Team Excellence of the Horizon 2020, which is allocated to established branch institutes linked to excellent research institutions in transition regions. Step 3, strengthen interdisciplinary professional training and cultivate the seed of a risk-taking culture. So, in parallel to strengthening research infrastructure, there's also a need for an excellent professional training system to get ideas and discoveries turned into new products and services produced in Greece. So currently, new ideas cannot easily make it to the market, not just because of the bureaucratic hurdles, but because of the missing practical skills of Greek workforce. And to achieve that, Greece should use existing technical colleges as a basis to build up of public-private partnerships at almost zero cost to the public sector, and take advantage of the European Center of Development of Vocational Training, which is actually located in our country. And I find another unique opportunity. No other member state has such easy access to best practice. Step 4, attract eco-related startups to collaborate with researchers by providing them with risk capital. So once knowledge spillovers are turned into new products, it's necessary to close this equity gap of high-tech startups, and we can do that. There's where actually government can enter and can support by providing seed capital, which is like a very basic amount of money that we offer to startups, and sort of standardize the regulations for the provision. Then venture capital will be attracted if research centers of excellence are established and research clusters are developed. Step 5. Next, we should codify and simplify the legislation for entrepreneurial activities. Codification actually means bringing different amendments to a certain law, adopting different years in one law. And this a shift in comprehensive codification of the Greek legislation system will eliminate contradictions and sort of simplify the business administration. And finally, enacted the diaspora policy to regulate the migration of highly skilled workforce, also called brain drain, and turn it into brain circulation. In order to increase knowledge transfer, finance R&D, attract risk capital, increase management capacities, or even export promotion of innovative products. So in conclusion, the country's environmental assets give the country a comparative advantage towards sustainability and innovation. Greece can be actually the next European Silicon Valley, but leveraging its hidden assets and by adapting the key Silicon Valley principles. A country in crisis with an economy in transition has the greatest potential towards innovation. And an innovative system, ecosystem cannot stand without, I believe, without innovative researchers. And being innovative doesn't require like financial resources or like having investments on your side, but a strong group of people who are constantly called to think out of the box, like you, like you that you have initiated such a like very outstanding um, um, initiative. So I'm gonna leave you with a great quotation, but by the genius, the innovative genius of the 21st century, who basically sort of conveyed this exact message. And he didn't invest on like maximizing his financial resources and research and development funds. Rather, he focused on having very productive hallway meetings and really building a strong team. Innovation has nothing to do, well, innovation has nothing to do with how many R&D dollars you have. It's about money, it's about the people, it's not about money. It's about the people you have, how you land, and how much you get in. Thank you. Questions? Yeah.
What's your last proposal? If we have one, what is it?
It was a step-based strategy, basically. It was like a policy sort of change rather than, was a step-based policy proposal. Of course, not a thorough one. This is just an abstract.
What should be in the diaspora? What sort of thing?
Oh, the diaspora, I didn't hear you.
What sort of thing?
Well, it can go to many extensions. Either like sort of facilitate collaboration to remittances, like not putting taxation on remittances or implementing the so-called twinning model that sort of brings different departments and institutions, two countries together to work. And that way, institutions have access to funding where else they won't be able to have. These are, and this promotes the brain circulation thing, like the come and go. This is a new era. So the brainwave strategy should focus not on bringing back the diaspora. I think this is a very privileged thought. I suggest that rather to like promote the networking and the globalization of the workforce.
I want to discuss a little bit the government issue that you mentioned in the slides. First of all, in terms of what happens in Silicon Valley next 4 years, I'm not sure if I can quantify that participation of the role the government played, but if I have to guess, right? I guess here. I think that was created because of the synergy created between Berkeley and Stanford and all these bright minds that think. I'm not sure, maybe the government had some influence, but if I have to guess, it has to be small. Now, if you go to the other side, in Greece, apparently, as you notice, as you said, that the government had their role, right?
Exactly.
Yes, because it has to. The universities are controlled by the government, and the government is the government. Of course, industry and research.
And that's a very first step. Like the politics have to get out.
Yeah, but if we read the history, I mean, I can read, of course, but I read for the last 20, 30 years, the government is a failed entity. It's a terrible business model. So
Exactly, that's
how do we trust these people? Because if you want to do it, the government is a major role, not the California, but the Greece.
Great
How do we
point.
trust these people?
Great point. That's why I highlighted the very limited, you know, contribution in this whole symbiotic relationship. Government should have very, very specific input in that.
But that's what you meant, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Either by like offering some research funding, but not. So this is a tricky procedure, right? What kind of funding the government should get, you know,
But
what
also,
kind of
the
research.
social degrees can impose many roadblocks.
Mhm.
Some kind of cultural thing, right? Anything people try to do.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Mhm.
Anything.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. This is this is the challenging part. Like, how do we tackle that? We have to first start with that, and then sort of spread our suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carlos. Next one is Mr. Georgios Kalkias.
Hello everyone. Just to tell you about myself, I studied in Aristotle University from 2006 until 2012. Civil engineering, in the Department of Engineering in Aristotle University, which I'm really proud for my education. And just at this point, because of the previous discussion about education in Greece, about education in US. After that, I went to Shanghai to do an internship in an oil and gas company. And then I had the opportunity to study at the London School of Economics. I did a master's there in management strategy, which I realized a big difference of education in UK and Greece. They offer a better product with a better way, but the quality of education, I don't think we need something in Greece about the quality that professors offer to students. So what I try to do is like all the previous days we're discussing about renewable energy, it's a big opportunity for Greece. And I try to develop a business model, a strategy for how we can put down the numbers, how we can find financing opportunities, how we can make this plan real. So I'm not an expert in energy. Now I'm working in business, as a business analyst in India Energy. Now 9 months now. I don't know very well the topic, so feel free to challenge everything. Now I'm learning a lot in this process. And sorry, maybe this doesn't work. So Odysseus Elitis has said that if you reconnect Greece, you will have in the end olive trees, vineyards, and ships. With all these elements, you can create a new Greece. And what I will try to say is that with sun, wind, wood, and water, which is plenty, we have abundance of these resources in Greece, we can develop a new country. So we'll go through I will give you an overview about the global and European trends in this industry. We'll talk about what's going on in Europe, what's going globally, and then we try to develop my model using a top-down strategy approach from a macroeconomic analysis to specializing in the renewable energy sector and analyzing if we have any financing opportunities and if we can find money to implement this plan. And of course, I will talk about the social impact of renewables in Greece. You will listen to me talking using all the time words like we need money, we need investments, there are a lot of opportunities, but in the end of the story, we are here to discuss how we can implement this plan. So, what we can see I try to take out all the ideas about energy companies and talk about what's going on in the global market. So we can see companies that they're not specialized in energy, they invest a lot in renewables. So for example, we have like Google, 2 billion to renewable energy projects. Apple, 3 billions. And we have like the CEO, Tim Cook, mentioned that they don't invest in renewables because it's good for society, but because they have a significant impact on the savings. We have Microsoft, 20 years PPA project with EDF Renewable Energy for wind energy in Illinois. We have IKEA, owns 206 wind turbines. In Europe, all the developed countries, they invest a lot in renewables, and like in this graph, we can see how there is the target of as a countries, and Sweden has like increased a lot of investments, raising 39% production for energy from renewables. While we have Germany, which changed a lot of the policy to go from to close down the nuclear power plants and invest a lot in renewables. But of course, we have to mention this point, the political impact that has in the country, about how they import a lot of energy from Russia and all these implications coming through this political and environmental decision. In Europe, we have big projects about how we can develop an interconnected and liberalized market, and how we can trade energy from the north to the south, and all these countries, how we can develop a project about how we can be more efficient, how we can have cheap energy in our European customers. We have many projects developed, like the NSOE project, investing 4.5 billion, 5.5 billion in 2014 to develop projects for transmission systems for energy. So Greece, since we are part of the European Union at the moment, hopefully we'll be still there. So we don't have to miss this train for development. So we have to take advantage of all this situation, and we have to be part of all this integrated European market. So what I took a number from the Greek government that they, in 2010, they did a plan how we can reach a target of 40% of renewables from electricity generation. And I tried to see if this number is achievable, if it's realistic, or if it's like a nice race, nice story for elections, and then we forget about that. What I did is like I used the top-down strategy, and I tried to interview people, banking experts, and from my company, EDF, the energy experts, and to ask for their insight about what's going on in Greece and if they want to invest in Greece. And I created a database of 52 projects in the pipeline in Greece. And I tried to propose new projects that based on feasibility studies that EDF is doing or other companies in different areas. So I started from a macroeconomic analysis of the Greece renewable energy sector, financing opportunities, social impact assessment, and then we have the conclusions. I will not spend that much time in these slides because of the time consumed. So everyone knows the difficult situation in Greece. Everyone knows all the numbers explain the story behind, like we have GDP growth minus 0.4%. The ratio of debt to GDP, even of the fiscal measures, increased to 108%. Still, we have deflation minus 2.8%. So it's like all know that the situation is terrible. Unemployment rate 26% for my generation, which we're in a difficult situation, 52%. However, we have a small decrease in unemployment, but still is at a high level. Labor cost is decreasing, which might be an opportunity for investments. And in this graph, we can see how Greece compares to other European countries. For the landscape for investors, it's not the best one. If someone looks at these numbers, will not decide to put his money in Greece. Like the loans to private sector decreased by 20% in 5 years, and this had the impact in the liquidity in the market. And a very interesting index that explains all the stories. The gross fixed capital formation is 11%, which explains
how much of the value created in the economy is invested back to the economy. For example, in Sweden, that percent is 23%. And of course, the business confidence of Greece decreased by 4% only from March to April, with all this situation with negotiations with our debts, and by 23% from 2000 until 2015. This index is, I have a graph comparing to Germany, what's going on. It's measured from the European Commission. However, as all the speakers mentioned, some weaknesses can become opportunities. We have very, very educated, high-level people with amazing knowledge, especially engineering departments. But we can see in the graph here, like the people that hold a higher education degree from 1997 until 2011 increased from 60% to 24%. So I'd like to give you an idea about what's going on in Greece. Like the monthly salary is $760 gross. But unfortunately, these people in my generation, they don't have the opportunity to go abroad. But from the other side, they still want to be scientists. They don't want to leave what they studied. I don't know if it's a good or strategy or a bad strategy, but still there are people there that they can offer their services. Of course, we have very specialized knowledge. Many departments offer education for energy, economics, and law. And as an idea, we can develop alliances for education with Cyprus, where they already develop knowledge about engineering production knowledge. The FTIs in Greece, we have good numbers, slightly increasing. Of course, in renewables, we have big players there, EDF, Metka, Alstom, Elpedison. So all these companies, they can transfer knowledge and know-how to the Greek economy, and of course they can bring money that we don't have. So let's take a step back of all this analysis and understand what's going on in Greece. We have some strengths like geography, natural resources, skilled labors, wages, like it's competitive comparing to the knowledge that people have. However, all the weaknesses we know about the public administration, which is how difficult to develop a business in Greece, the low business confidence, opportunities, of course, there are. We are part of Europe. We don't have to miss that there are many regulations that support energy. And of course, we have new foreign companies investing in Greece. Of course, the big threats, the Brexit, leaving the European Union and all this integrated market, the political instability of all this time is killing the market, and of course, the threat that foreign companies can leave the country. So I will pass to this one. It's like explaining the evolution of the renewable energy systems in Greece and the historical value of the market. We have a very regulated market. We have the public power company created in 1950, and just a good effort was produced in 2010 from the government to develop a national plan about renewables. And in 2011, we had one of the most competitive feed-in tariffs. Feed-in tariffs like an incentive to investors to invest. They promise a stable price in the future. So it's like the best investment for the best incentive for investors to develop new projects. I will go very fast on these numbers. I try to support my ideas with numbers and statistics, not to have a nice fairy tale. With this slide, we can see like we don't export any energy. We import a lot, and most of the portfolio that we produce in energy is coming from fossil fuels. But in renewables, we're going very well. It's not that bad. We have a 23% combined annual growth rate, and the target to achieve 28% in 2020. So what I did, I would like to focus on this graph. Is what I did. I tried to collect data for all the potential projects of renewables, all these technologies, and it's called LCO, Liberalized Cost of Economics. It's an index that shows how much should be the energy price for a project to break even. So it's like we have based on OPEX, CAPEX, of labor costs and all this stuff for different technologies. And the red line shows the proposed feed-in tariff from the Greek government. It's like incentive, as I mentioned before, for investors.
and we can see where we can identify opportunities for investments. Offshore solar panels is very high, the feed-in tariff. Marine energy is a very expensive technology at the moment. And yeah, the next graph is my proposal. So, as mentioned in the previous discussions, renewables are not the best investment in the world. I'm honest with that. It's like we need a huge capex in the beginning, and the returns are very low. So we have a very big capex in the short term. We don't have any returns. So we need to have. If there's big risk for the investors in that situation, especially in a market like Greece, we have a very bad financial situation. So what we can see in this graph in the blue color is like the project that are under the pipeline and it's under development, and the red colors are like my proposal. So what I want to give you like a top level point is like it's better to focus on technologies that they have a high mature and the feed-in tariff is as best as better we can have from the government. So the STAR is the best situation for the best technology we have to invest. It's impossible at this moment. And potentially, marine energy has a big potential in Greece because it's a very expensive technology, but we have very good R&D centers developing new projects in marine energy. So potentially we can. I didn't propose a lot of megawatts, only like 5.1 megawatts in marine. So in total, we can develop in total from renewables 22.5 gigawatts. So it's like all the numbers I try to find facts from companies like feasibility studies from media, and this is proposed from my part, and the pipeline is in the solar panels. It was a big project called Helios project, which stopped in 2014 about how to produce solar energy from 10 gigawatts solar energy using joint ventures with other countries. Of course, in order to invest in renewables, we need an upgraded transmission system, which we don't have at the moment in Greece. Avmea is the company that owns all the transmission system in Greece. So we need more money to invest. As I mentioned at the beginning, we need money. It's a company that goes very well, 200 million EBITDA in 2013, and there is a legislation about how it's going to privatize 66%, and the BBC wants to sell this percentage. And of course, the strategic investor who wants to put the money there has to develop a 10-year development plan of 2.5 billion to develop new interconnected systems. Another idea that's like it's a way to attract investors is how we can move from a highly regulated market to a more free market. So there was a legislation about how we can have a spin of 30% of assets of the BBC, which is an amazing company going very well. But there's a big question mark about the electricity bills, which, as we saw in UK, what happened with the privatization of the market, all the customers' bills increased significantly. Of course, it's an amazing opportunity to attract new investors to break the monopolistic market. And the big question mark is like how we will move from a monopoly to a free market. There are many research based on the strategy and economics that shows that, especially in electricity, if the government does the work that it has to do, the electricity bills will not increase. So if the government keeps the regulations where they have to be and goes to a free market in areas that add value to really the market, then the customers' bills will decrease in the long term. Another, I'm trying to support my ideas how we can make it realistic. Since we are part of the European Union, where there are so many regulations that can help us. It's like the cooperation mechanism, value sharing mechanism, transmission infrastructure development, which give the opportunity to countries to develop joint ventures with other countries to meet their renewable energy targets. For example, we can develop a joint venture with a country that has no sun, or we have
they don't develop a lot of wind energy. So they can compensate us for the energy that they buy from us. And this is some ideas about how the Europe is going to develop projects to interconnect all the countries. It's nothing. Yeah. Okay. So just summarizing, taking a step back to see what's going on. The market is not going very well. Of course, we have to do something until 2020. The transmission system that we have in Greece is very old. There are not recent upgrades. We need 2.8 billion to invest in that part. The feed-in tariffs are very competitive, but we have to find a way to attract investors. How much money we need to develop this project? My idea is 43 billion. It's a lot. Can we reach the 20% target? Of course we can, of renewables, and of course we can access the target. Are there any regulations that help to help this investment? Yes, there are European regulations. We don't need to develop new regulations. And any new investment incentives for investors, of course, all this interconnection with Europe can develop a trading market of energy in Greece, which we don't have at the moment. So I will go very fast, which is a very important slide. Yeah, we don't have time. It's how we can find the money. We don't have money, but we have all what I analyzed before. All these incentives can attract investors. And when we develop a project, we have in renewables, we have three main parties. It's the role of the government that can support these projects, is the developers that do the project, and financiers. All the biggest risk is at the beginning, in this part, the pre-development and development. And because we don't have any return on the investments, so we have a high risk in this part. So venture capitalists and private equity are not the best financiers for this project, but the risks go down when we have the construction part, because we have the asset. So from this part, we can see like public equity markets are the most reliable, the most realistic part for Greece to invest for renewable projects. And in this part, when we have the operation, the risk is minimized because we're starting to produce energy and we have returns. This is the analysis of all the what financiers expect from these investments. What I did is like I tried to interview some people from EBRD, so they developed. So they told me that they met many people in the government in Greece. They met many people in Metka. They met many people in PPC, and there's a high appetite for these people to invest in Greece. And the only way to bring these people in Greece, which it's like to develop lobbying, to develop networking with these people to speak the same language, to bring them in Greece, which I don't know why they don't invest in Greece, since they invest in all the neighbor countries like Albania, Croatia, and of course they invest a lot in energy. Another is like we can see from this graph that we have a lot of money that can go to energy, like green bonds. There are many financing options. For example, in 2014, it's like we have $35 billion issued from green bonds. So it's like the investment in renewables has a big impact on society. This is why governments try to support. I will go through very quickly what is the impact. Like we have the investments can increase income, the salaries, new jobs are coming. FDIs bring technology, know-how. Tourism has a negative impact. Employment rates, we can develop 10,000 full-time jobs from like evidence from EDF to 20,000 part-time jobs. Education, we can develop research R&D centers, alliances with other education systems globally. Environment, it's a question mark there because there are many people like complain the renewables for different situations. So it's not my decision on that. Human development, people start having jobs, develop their skills, earn money. Startups, it's a good point because we have new companies around renewables to develop new applications about how we can minimize energy consumption. Manufacturing, companies can bring their operation in Greece, develop the components for renewable projects. SMEs, embedded generation, small companies can produce energy and sell to other companies. And some facts from UK: 9% increase in jobs from renewables, and this bubble is the best one. It's 27% of the benefits of the projects that were absorbed from the local economy. So yeah, just we have a conclusion ending. We can realize that some small worlds will have very competitive feed-in tariffs, European regulations, there are trading opportunities, skilled labor, geographical position, so that there is a high potential for renewables in this country. Thank you very much. Any questions? Everything? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eurocaucas. Next is Dr. Konstantinos Koutsis, PhD in computer science, and he's going to talk about combining big metadata with standardized ontologies to identify anormalization and incompatibility among e-government information systems.
Right. Hello everyone. My name is Konstantinos Koutsis, and I'm here to talk about how we can combine big metadata with standardized ontologies to identify anormalization and incompatibility among e-government information systems. And if you didn't understand what I just said, just give me a few minutes and you will know by the end of this presentation. So a few things about myself, just so you know. I have completed a bachelor's in computer science with honors, and then 2 masters in networking, and finally, after a long time, my PhD in XML technologies and the semantic web. In parallel to this, I've been working as a systems analyst, a software developer, an ICT consultant, an IT economist, and finally, a CS lecturer, a computer science lecturer. Now, enough about me. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about this thing. So this drum is actually called magnetic drum memory. So once upon a time, they used to use this drum full of magnets, in order to store things. This was invented in 1932, and it was widely used in the 50s and the 60s until, of course, it was replaced by magnetic core memory. Now, why am I bringing this up? Now, you see, we are still using this in a way. I don't know if you've seen this symbol before. It's the international symbol for databases. So if you ever see this cylinder, it means database, a collection of data. It's used by information systems, and we have, relational databases are very common, but we also have non-relational databases. We are mostly going to talk about relational databases today, but this doesn't exclude the other ones. Now, as you know, databases contain data, zeros and ones. So these data are not just randomly dropped in the database, they are specifically placed in what we call tables. So databases, those drums, contain tables, and those tables define the structure of databases. Every table has a unique name, unique fields. Every field has data of specific data type, so it could be numbers, text, dates, anything. So these tables define the structure of your database. Now, a database, of course, has many tables and should have many tables. And these tables are not just randomly placed in there, they are connected to each other, thus the term relational databases. Now, after we put data in those tables, we have specific numbers, text, information, and we also have other data, data about our data. We know their table names, we know their column names, their field names, and we also know their data types. So those data about our data are called metadata. Data about data is based on Greek. So data about data could be, for example, structural. They define the structure of the table, like the table names, the field names, the data types, or it could be descriptive metadata, like the name of the person who built this database, or when it was created, or some comments about the tables themselves. Now, you may have heard this new phrase. Well, it's not really new anymore, but it was 3 years ago, big data. Big data is when you have so much data, you don't know what to do with it. Well, we now know what to do with this. We collect them in databases, relational or non-relational, and we hire analysts to try and